The Cybertruck is big, but energy storage is growing like a weed for them. Full service driving, it's 15 grand or a subscription, which will probably make them more money.
We're talking Vinfast Auto. This is stock ticker VFS. And it, according to the headlines, I guess, is something we should be paying attention to. More valuable than Ford, more valuable than GM. And I gotta be honest, I just heard about this like 3 hours ago.
Tesla has apparently won permit approval for its diner and drive-in movie supercharger. This would be in LA.
All that and more. So let's get to it.
So we're talking Tesla today. We haven't heard from you guys for a couple months on this one. And, you know, it seems like every time maybe they run into problems or you think maybe the car sales are slowing down, you see more price cuts, not only here in the U.S., but globally for this company. They got the best margins in the industry. Do you guys still positive, still have positive data on this one?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the data, it's still positive. And, you know, it got a little iffy when right before earnings there, they got up to 300. Now they dipped down to, what, 210 and bounced up to 235. But when you look at the data overall, yeah, this is the leader. I mean, I think a lot of people would say that EV is sort of the future of the automotive industry, and certainly that Tesla is the leader at this point, right?
You're motherfucking right. The wild swings of Tesla are just indicators that the market has no idea how to value this company. But don't worry, in a few years, Tesla's gonna leave no doubt. People think the stock's going to the moon or even Mars, but I'm here to tell you, they're going a lot further than that.
On their last report, we know that even though they're high, their operating margins have dipped to, I think, their lowest level in quite some time, under 10% now. They've got costs going up a little bit, mostly with related to improving production, but they also reduced the prices quite a bit. So I think they're aggressively trying to increase market share and get their economies of scale going and be more efficient.
Expected capex for Tesla has gone up for the next few years. I suppose that's what happens when you plan to ramp up multiple factories on multiple continents. I fully expect them to announce at least one new factory location by the end of this year and a second in early 2024. And that's just vehicle production. There's going to be loads of different locations doing various different other things for Tesla as its many arms continue to grow exponentially. It will be exciting to watch this growth story for the remainder of this decade.
They're thinking long term, they're not thinking short term, and I love that. And when you look at the data in particular, them versus their competitors, just looking at the web data, how many people are visiting their websites, right? I think that's an important metric because that's where you gain info. That's kind of where you're telling the company, hey, I'm interested in looking at your product. They're plus 43% on a year-over-year basis. Very strong numbers, definitely leading the crowd there. Now, last quarter, that number was plus 18% year-over-year. So they're accelerating. A lot more people are becoming more interested in the Tesla products. So you can see here they're crushing it when it comes to the competition, BMW, even Rivian.
God damn, look at these numbers. In the days of yore, when you were out to buy a vehicle, you could easily go with a brand choice. I've been a Chevy man, so I'm gonna grab me another Chevy. I'm a Ford guy, built Ford tough, you know how it is. Sure, in the past, you could have the luxury of just picking and choosing which brand you would like to have. But we're in a different age. This is a different era of the automobile. Software is king. Choosing another electric vehicle is like choosing a Linux. You're gonna want the best, especially if you're spending that kind of money. Making the transition to an electric vehicle is not the easiest thing to do. It's going to require some effort on your part. If you choose the wrong electric vehicle, your experience might be lackluster, ultimately turning you off the electrified experience. This is no time to get cute. These are not the same products as you're used to, where it didn't matter if you picked a Hyundai or a Nissan or any regular old automobile because they're built quite similarly. These are computers on wheels. And with computers, the software matters.
Behind their plus 43%. Now we do see a little bit of a happiness dip overall with the company when it comes to social mentions. However, a lot of that has to do with Elon Musk. There's more people talking negatively about him than actually the cars. So I think we can kind of, generally speaking, brush that off If people want a nice car, they're going to still buy it.
Regardless of what you think about Elon, like him, love him, hate him, who cares? He is the catalyst that is making the battery electric vehicle mainstream. I'm in the camp that if the man is doing overwhelmingly good for humanity, I don't give a f as politics are. The cars are amazing. The rockets are amazing. Starlink is having an impact around the world.
The model by model, it's pretty interesting to see how the different models are doing. So the Cybertruck is actually leading the way on a year-over-year change. So that's not to say that they're the most popular vehicle that Tesla produces by any stretch. It's saying they're gaining the most on a year-over-year basis. And of course, it was a low bar, right? They're gaining over a smaller number. The Model X doing well, and the Y still doing very strongly. But a lot of people are moving from the S and the 3 to either the Y or the X. The Y actually has the highest happiness of all of them. The Cybertruck has the lowest. It's kind of polarizing at about 55%. Some people love it. Some people think it's disgusting and ugly. I can't wait to hear what Kevin's got to say on that
Here
one.
it comes.
Yeah, so I know it's coming. But yeah, that's the one that people were more excited than they were last year, but not the most excited about. The Y, I think, is still the big one. It was the X, now it's the Y. But overall, I think that the company is building for the long term. And, another thing you can look at besides, trying to grow their market share with lower prices, and besides, doing some of the factory improvements that are causing higher costs now, but will be lower later. They're also building this amazing infrastructure with their supercharger network, and they're getting everyone else to come aboard, right? Rivian, GM, Ford, Volvo, Mercedes. I mean, they're all going to be able to plug into that network, and that's only going to empower Tesla in the future. That's going to pay off sometime down the road, and it's just going to make them more and more dominant. So,
yeah, agree with all of that.
Very, very forward thinking. They're not thinking about next quarter. They're thinking about 5 years from now. And I think that with this dip, this is actually a really good entry price for this company long term.
What?
Now, Kevin, give me your Cybertruck thoughts.
So follow me here, and I may be dating myself, Landon. If you took the movie RoboCop and you took the lead actor in RoboCop and made him into a car, that's what this would look. That's what the Cybertruck looks like. It looks like they made RoboCop into an actual vehicle. Now, all jokes aside, the data says that the 3 best-selling automobiles in the country last year were pickup trucks. So when this Cybertruck finally starts being sold, I think it's going to be like wildfire. They're going to buy these things, right? No matter what I feel about them, I don't think it's a very good looking car, but I think they're going to be enormously popular.
I'm buying one. Guilty as charged. Haters be damned.
And that's really just part of what they're doing, right? The Cybertruck is big, but energy storage is growing like a weed for them. Full service driving, it's 15 grand or a subscription, which will probably make them more money. So what I always say about Tesla, for the bearish, that hurts the bearish case, the pipeline. The things they have in the pipeline should scare every bear out there.
Bad RoboCop joke aside, this motherfucker is killing it. Cybertruck is garnering some attention, bringing more traffic to the site. Some people are seeing the Cybertruck in real time for the first time ever, popping up all over California, some in Texas. In America's heartland for testing, these Cybertrucks are starting to pop up everywhere, and people are like, what the is that?
Ford sold 650,000 F-150s last year. Just that pickup truck. If they get this Cybertruck right, it's a whole nother level for this company, Landon.
I agree. And I would be more bullish on Tesla if their truck looked like the F-150
Yes.
Lightning. I think they'd get a lot more sales. It's pretty wild looking. I mean, when you look at a normal SUV versus the X or the Y, and a normal sedan versus the Model 3, it's like, okay, Tesla looks a little cooler, a little sleeker. I get it. But the truck is like on a whole different level.
On purpose. The truck is on a whole nother level because they broke it down to brass tacks. They didn't do it just for shit and giggles. Tesla doesn't come out and say, let's go ahead and build something slightly better than the internal combustion engine and see if we can. No! The Model S, leagues better than anything in its category. Same could be said for the X, 3, and Y. Semi, Cybertruck, they will be no different.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Does Andy like the truck? He likes the look.
I think he's not going to buy one.
There you go.
He's not going to buy one. I've got a deposit on it, throw $100 at it just for kicks. And I also have one on the Lightning though, so we'll see. But you know what? I think you're right. This is a long-term company, and everybody who used to hate on it, all the big short guys on Tesla, it was always, it's about to crash. Like, it's about to run out of cash. It can't keep up. It can't make these cars. There's nobody that likes them. There's always like a now problem. And I'm talking about 2-3 years ago. They're past that. And so I think that there's a mistake with investors to think of Tesla as what's going to happen this quarter, what's going to happen next quarter. They are clearly building a very long-term company. The pipeline, as you say, is extremely long horizon, and I love the direction that they're going in.
Preach.
I really do think that one day we're going to look back at $200 or $300 as a incredibly low stock price for this company. That might be 5 or 10 years from now, but I am extremely bullish on this company long term, and I love this $65 dip from highs.
What kind of score do you guys have right now? They don't have earnings for about a month and a half, 2 months, Landon. And, long term you're bullish, but what about near term? Because, margins are starting to shrink a little bit. What if the consumer takes a hit also?
Sure, absolutely. Now they are getting to that point where they're becoming extremely affordable. I mean, I remember the days of the S being $120,000 and people were talking about buying it. So now they're very cheap cars, but the short-term score, hypothetically, they're reporting tomorrow, would be plus 30. So not extremely bullish, but bullish enough. But I think the long-term outlook for this company is much stronger. That's the short-term score. I think the long-term score is up in the 60s or 70s. So very bullish long-term on Tesla.
We're talking Vinfast Auto. This is stock ticker VFS. And it, according to the headlines, I guess, is something we should be paying attention to. More valuable than Ford, more valuable than GM. And I gotta be honest, I just heard about this like 3 hours ago.
And the controlling shareholder now is Vietnam's richest man and now the 5th richest person in Asia because of this market debut last week. And we saw shares surge 500% and making another 30% move to the upside today. So here to tell us now more on this name, I'd like to welcome in Renita Young, senior markets correspondent for the network. So Renita, admittedly, like Alex, I also haven't heard of this name, but second most valuable automaker? I mean, that's unbelievable.
I think DJ Khaled would say, and another one. And another one. But this stock is charged up, and it's been that way ever since its going public last week through a special going public process. But the stock today, it's up more than 340% week to date. And it's all because the company is actually doing a lot better than what people would have expected. Now, it's at levels now beyond legacy autos, Ford and GM. Its market cap has soared beyond those levels, but it's still not above Tesla, of course. But Vinfast has racked up a ton of watchers on social media, on social platforms for investors and traders. We're talking about stock twits. Now, some of the watchers, however, they're wondering whether or not the company really does deserve the type of hype that it's actually getting today because of where the business actually stands on the balance sheet. Now, the underlying business is doing less than $1 billion in revenue. And
What? Now, best of luck to Vinfast, but this market cap's a little bit ridiculous at this point. Any number of landmines can derail this company's progress, but it just goes to show you how much the market values the battery electric vehicle. It'll be a name to watch, and we'll see their progress here in the United States.
Negative cash flow from operations of between down 1.5 billion to 2 billion. So for the short term, analysts say, yeah, Vinfast is trading on the hype and the momentum, but it's a big question as to whether or not the company can carry this momentum through.
I think that's well put, Renita. And, there's not really much to add. The story is like very much developing right in front of us. It's not even optionable yet. It hasn't even been around long enough for that. And so there's just not all that much information yet. We know it's based out of Vietnam. We kind of have an idea of what the products look like and the interest in them. And, but that's about it. This is just the market excited about this stock, and it's surging. Anything else that you'd add here before we say goodbye?
I did read that this company has been importing vehicles to the United States, so they're trying to go for Tesla's market share, of course.
I mean, that was another interesting aspect of this report, that we could see them enter the race to be one of the most profitable, successful EV names. This is a crowded space, especially out of Asia. We have so many names that have not exactly seen the most stellar week either, but we will leave it there. Renita, thank you for the breakdown as always, and thank you for the DJ Khaled reference. I love that we keep bringing him back.
I don't buy that the market is crowded, because the market is expanding exponentially. Compared to Asia and Europe, the United States is in its infancy in battery electric vehicle adoption. Vinfast's presence is only going to accelerate the adoption that is already at piddly levels here in the United States. I like what they're doing as a company, and if they keep at it, they won't be here just for a good time. They'll be here for a long time.
Tesla has apparently won permit approval for its diner and drive-in movie supercharger. This would be in LA. This is according to Teslarati. It's a blog that's seen documents from the LA Department of Building and Safety. Now, Tesla's been kind of talking and teasing about this for years, of a drive-in movie theater and diner supercharger. And Kiko, I know you have a lot of thoughts on this. You've seen this. Like, you know, the idea with this is there's going to be some screens that will show movie clips, because I was wondering, if it's a supercharger, what's the need for movies, right, Akiko?
Yeah, 30 minutes, that's it, for a full charge, right?
Exactly.
But, you know, you mentioned Tesla having this in the works. The idea of having a drive-in at a charging station has been talked about even outside of Tesla for many years, because the question is, when it takes 30 minutes for a level 3 charger, that's the fast chargers, and then even more, we're talking hours for a level 2 charger, what is the experience going to look like? You remember last year, Starbucks announced they're going to have chargers at some of their Starbucks stores. You know, that's where they raise the question, are people going to just be grabbing coffee? You need a place to kind of wait around, right?
It's true.
While you're getting the car charged. And by the way, Diane, I was going to say this. As a person who lives in LA where there are chargers everywhere, it's always interesting to me to see how drivers spend their time while they're waiting for their chargers. True story, I heard recently that there are dates happening at charging stations to say, look, I'm charging in your neighborhood. Do you want to come out? I'll be sticking around for a few hours.
Well, I'll tell you as a personal story. So I took a vacation in July, and so we rented a Tesla just to have the experience of, you know, some of my family. We rented a Tesla to kind of see what the experience was like, right? And so my brother-in-law and my sister took it out for a spin to charge it, and went on a date while it was charging, because where we went, there weren't this plethora of like superchargers around. So they were like, okay, there's a supercharger here. We're going to go on a date while we do this. So it is interesting.
I find this very fascinating. Me personally, I spend very little time at chargers because I charge at the house. The Tesla diner drive-in, that seems like an awesome thing to do. When we do charge at a supercharger, we find ourselves at a barbecue place here in Texas called Rudy's, or we go to Buc-ee's. I'm never really too far from home, so if I'm away from home, I would probably charge it up to the max. Really, I just plug it in, go do my business, unplug, and then leave. If it were me and I were in the car just waiting for it to charge, I'd turn on Netflix or something, Disney Plus, play a game. If you're not in a Tesla, I don't know what the f you do.
We think of Tesla with a side of fries.
It's
charging.
Elon picturing what he wants people to do with the chargers, right? He wants people to see this as a business opportunity because you can create a captive audience. It's a very smart marketing play, in my opinion. You can show people that, hey, if you put a couple chargers here, you're guaranteed to have someone sit there for 30 minutes. And like Akiko said, then they probably buy a cup of coffee while they're sitting there for 30 minutes. I think he's sort of saying, if you are Starbucks, you almost want to have chargers. You want to have chargers because then people have to sit there. And if I have to sit somewhere for 30 minutes, I know I'm at least having a coffee.
Yeah.
Right. I'm seeing more of an hour wait that it takes for a Tesla to charge up. So I don't know. 30 minutes seems kind of quick. It seems like Elon Musk.
2 cups of coffee.
What the f? An hour? Who's waiting an hour? You must be down to like 2% and needing to get back up to 250 for it to take an hour.
Even better for Starbucks, right?
In addition to that, I mean, we've seen other companies do this. I mean, in my local mall, there's an Olive Garden right nearby, and they have Tesla charging stations. We also have Mercedes, Rivian, Porsche. They also have teamed up with local companies to really build out those charging stations. I mean, I'm thinking more of like a Shake Shack, a McDonald's, a Chick-fil-A in this sort of charging station area. But what I'm interested in is what kind of food will be at this Tesla diner. I mean, who is supplying the food? food? Are we teaming up with the national chef? Are we teaming up with a local Shake Shack? What's happening here, and what kind of offerings?
Akiko's going to go to find out, right, Akiko? That's why we have Akiko in LA.
Yeah, you know
We're gonna be
what,
boots on the
guys,
ground.
I was going to mention this. There is a Santa Monica station. I think this is the largest Tesla charging station. We're talking well over, 30 chargers there on the lot. There is a code that you can punch in if you are a Tesla driver that allows you to go inside. The bathrooms are all clean because it's just Tesla drivers. There's vending machines available. So, in many ways, Tesla's already sort of selling this exclusivity that it's not just about the car. There's an experience that's attached to it. This feels like an extension of it.
Feels like an extension for sure.
I agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, yes. But it feels like an extension of it. And Akiko, I also agree with your earlier point, though. It doesn't make as much sense for the supercharger, but clearly they're trying to build an experience around this.
Everybody's experience with the Tesla vehicle is going to be a little bit different. Everybody utilizes their vehicles slightly different person to person. With this transition, you need to be the one to take the bull by the horns. Don't let this stuff happen to you, because trust me, it's happening sooner rather than later. You've got a couple of years with the legacy automotive companies before they start to crack and wither underneath the pressure of legislation and the overall adoption of superior battery electric vehicles coming from the likes of Tesla, Rivian, and quite possibly Vinfast and Lucid. I kind of put them on a similar plane, but because of Vinfast's success in Vietnam, hopefully that will cross over to the United States market, which will be slightly less competitive. You can see it in the stock price. But let's not put the cart before the horse. They still have plenty of work to do. Many a landmine to avoid. Don't get me wrong, everybody's got a lot of work to do. But the difference between Tesla and all of those other automakers, Tesla's working hard to expand to 20 million vehicles per annum, while the rest of the automakers are struggling just to survive. Building EVs ain't cheap, unless you're Tesla. Well, that's all I got for you today. Be easy. Peace.